Hi, so for this assignment, we were asked to basically develop information we would use to have a parent teacher conference with two families that come from multicultural backgrounds. So, the first part of the assignment was to list things to consider when communicating with these families who are speaking different languages. So, things to consider are to help parents understand the evaluation information. So, to understand basically what has been written about how their child has been doing in the class. Next step is to help parents interpret the information accurately. So sometimes we have to kind of explain to them what each step of the information means so that they're able to understand exactly where their child's strengths and weaknesses lie based on the evaluations performed in class. And then lastly, the last step is to request parent and child input for assessment planning. So it's important to have the parents' input basically to develop plans to basically reach the child's needs. The next part of the assignment was to have the steps to conduct the parent-teacher conference. So the steps are to start and end on a positive note, to make sure to start the conference in a way that the parents are engaged and they feel excited to be there, kind of basically talking good about their child. And same thing on the ending. No matter how the evaluation goes with that parent-teacher conference, it's always good to end it on a good note. The next step is to encourage parents to share information about their child. This is important because it can really help teachers to be able to gather the way the child is progressing at home and basically help them develop a plan that fits the child and the parents' needs more accurately. The next step is to discuss relevant information about the child's progress so that the parent is involved and understands the way that their child is progressing academically. Next is to discuss the child's needs or issues about progress. This is important because the parent has to be informed on how their child may be lacking on some areas to be able to address them while they're relevant. And lastly, as I said before, to end the conference on a positive note. Next, we were asked how to fit these needs for families of diverse backgrounds. So it's really important to include cultural customs, I'd say, like basically what different cultures are used to. So for example, if you're dealing with a family that's Hispanic, it's important to be very polite, to use words like thank you and please. Most Hispanics really like that closeness relationship. So basically it's important to consider their family's culture into the conference to basically make them feel at home and make them feel safe with the teacher that they're talking to. So the two families that I made was family one would be the Garcias. They're a Colombian family with a daughter, Isabela. They immigrated here 2 years ago. And they speak Spanish, limited English, and both of the parents work long hours in manual labor jobs. So the first step to be able to prepare for this parent-teacher conference with the Garcias would be to get all documents translated in both Spanish and English, since the family doesn't speak very much English. It's limited, so it's important to have all the documents on Isabela's evaluations in Spanish so that her parents are able to evaluate it and understand it correctly. Next, it's important to schedule the meeting when it fits their work schedule, because as we saw that they work manual labor jobs, so it's a little bit more difficult to be able to talk to them. So it's important to schedule meetings that fit their hours. Next, as I said before, with Hispanics love that closeness in collections. So it's important to set a tone with a warm welcome to fit what they're used to, especially Colombians, used to that like warm connection with another person. Next, as we said, it's important to start with positive information about the ways Isabela is adjusting, talk about how she's learning English, how she's doing so well in her classes, how she's doing well with the adjustment that she made from Colombia to America. Next would be to address them politely to keep cultural sensitivity, make sure to keep that very much sensitive relationship in the sense of like explaining things again and again if they need. Remember that they have a limited English. Then we have to address their concerns, make sure that everything, if Isabela is having some difficulty in some area, make sure we address that so her parents feel like they're being cared for and feel like Isabela's needs are being met. Next, we would make a plan. So a plan based on Isabela's strengths and weaknesses. So let's say she's doing great in math, not so good in reading. We can basically plan with the parents to schedule some time reading at home, and sometime writing some extra vocabulary words, etc. And lastly, we would set up a family meeting, once again, a follow-up meeting, whenever her parents can, to continue addressing her needs. The next family that I have is the Morettis. They're an Italian family with son Giuseppe. They speak Italian and limited English, and they've been immigrated here for about a year. So it would be the same type of process that we followed before. It would be to get all the documents in Italian and English because, as we said, they have a limited English. Then we would schedule the meeting to fit their needs. We would set the tone based on their cultural needs. Same thing as we would with any culture. Just make sure we have any mannerism or any type of way that Italians act in comparison. Kind of do a little bit of research on that so you're able to adjust. Then start positively about the way Giuseppe's basically been interacting with other students, how he's learning English, how he's doing great in his classes, basically keeping it on a positive note for the parents. Then we would address their concerns, keeping that cultural sensitivity in place, make sure we're respecting them, making sure we're addressing all of their questions like politely. And then we would make a plan for Giuseppe's needs, as we said before. Depending on whatever area his strengths and weaknesses lie in, that's how we make the plan. And then we would set up a follow-up meeting. And yeah, it's really important to know what type of culture our families are coming from so we're able to approach them correctly and able to address their child's needs. And yeah, thank you.